weekly sit-down with local agricultural leaders and businesses. This is Tailgate Conversations. Sponsored by Pinnaker Chevrolet. We're in Rockaway Beach on Lake Taneycomo, here to sit down with Steve and Jonathan to tell the story about rural compassion revitalizing this community. Thanks, Steve, for sitting down with us, and I am excited for you to be able to tell the story of rural compassion. So take some time and share with me who you are and how this all got started.
Kind of the genesis of Rural Compassion and Convoy of Hope. Our father was on the way to a meeting, father and mother, and as they came around a corner, a driver came across the center line, hit our parents head on. Our dad was killed instantly, our mom was severely injured, and the faith community and the community as a whole came around our family and just really helped us in a difficult time. And really that was the genesis for kind of developing a heart of, hey, you know, we as humanity need to make a difference in other people's difficult situation. And small town America is the most overlooked part of poverty in our country. And a lot of times, you know, these communities can be isolated and, you know, for a number of different reasons, run into some challenges. And so we work through the faith community as our portal, and getting the faith community to work together and then work with the main leaders.
Well, what are some of those things where people have gotten excited about?
You know, it's so one of our main emphasis is we teach 3 years to become the best friend of the public school system. Many times in a small town, the strongest entity is the school system. You know, one of our hard things is to help the poor, the disabled, and the elderly. And you know, when you look at firefighters, most of their calls are going to be to the elderly, disabled, and impoverished. So why not link with them, working with law enforcement, working with social workers? When you bring people to the table and they start interacting with each other, you find a kindred heart, and then they kind of develop their own plan to move forward and you know, help in a way that makes sense to their community. When
I was learning more about the possibilities here, I noticed on your website it said small towns, big possibilities. Tell me about that and where that came from.
You know, we've just found that, you know, when the small town, when they come together and they start dreaming, it just creates an energy and ideas start to happen, and people start to link arms to, you know, increase economic engines. You'll see here in a bit, we're in Rockaway Beach, and they've done some work with agriculture here, and we have a number of communities where, you know, they have community gardens that they've started, or you know, different things that just kind of help the community have a new vibrancy to it. And again, for us, our faith community is our portal, but we want everybody to link arms together. And you know, there's a biblical idea that says that one puts 1,000 to flight, but two that work together put 10,000. And just, you know, the ag community forever has been about working together. And sometimes some of our rural towns that have gone through difficult times, they start to become fragmented. And as an outside entity, sometimes we're able to get people to rethink the importance of linking arms to make a difference on some difficult situations. And we're in Rockaway Beach, and we're working with Pastor Jonathan McGuire, and this town has had some difficult times. It was Branson before Branson was Branson, and then God sent a guy like Jonathan and Amy here, and they have really brought this community together and are making a difference in families and children especially that have faced some really, really difficult times. You know, if we go back before Jonathan came to this community and we see what's happening now, it's incredible.
We're here in Rockaway Beach, and this isn't where you got started, but you have a really cool story about why you came here. So share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I grew up in Lebanon, Missouri, and after Lebanon, Missouri, I went to St. Louis Community College at Merrimack and decided I didn't want to be in the big city. I wanted to be in a rural area, and so College of the Ozarks brought me to this area. And then as a result of College of the Ozarks, I heard the planting pastor of Bridge of Faith speaking, heard him talking about some 15-year-olds that were struggling in life, lots of turmoil. My wife and I said, this is where we want to be. And so out of that, we came to Rockaway Beach and started pouring into this community.
Right now we're standing in what you called the village, right?
Yes.
And tell me what the inspiration is for that.
So the village was come about through Rural Compassion. Rural Compassion took us to Christian Community Development Association, and we heard about the concept of Christian community development. And so we began to pour in and start the Village Project. First thing we did was the thrift store. Then we also started a coffee company, which became the White River Coffee Company, and then the nightly rental, the Paxton Home. The concept of the village is a place for our community to gather, and then it's also a place for us to have jobs and create jobs. And so, and through that, inspire community development. So we have the thrift stores, we have the Paxton Home, we have the coffee shop. We're getting ready to add a counseling center.
I see that's under construction.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're working on that. And so that'll be a lay biblical counseling center, give our rural area opportunity to have counseling, access to counseling.
I see that there's a new building that's up. It looks like that it's called the Lodge.
Yes, the Lodge is a housing facility for mission teams that come from all across the United States that come and pour in to our community. And so about 300 people a year come here, and the Lodge just opened last November. And this summer it has 8 teams that have already booked the Lodge. And so it's an average of about 30 people per team. So 8 to 10 teams a year, about 300 people a year come spend 40-hour work weeks in our community, enhancing our community and pouring in volunteer labor.
I see there's some raised beds. Tell me a little bit about those.
Yeah, so this is a community garden, and the community garden was started out of just reading a magazine and seeing how community gardens were enhancing community development. And in Rockaway Beach, there's not a lot of good soil.
Have to bring it in?
Yes, a lot of rocks in Rockaway. And so for us, we created these raised beds. And so local people can rent out a bed for the summer, and what they grow, they get to keep, they can sell. And so we provide the water and the soil and the beds, and they are able to come up and work with other gardeners and people around to be able to grow their own produce for the summer.
You've shared a lot of your dreams for this project, but there's got to be something next. I'm sure you're still dreaming. What is it?
Yeah, so we want to continue to finish the village, but as we do that, we also want to enhance the housing of our community. So we want to enhance the housing that is here currently, and then also maybe bring some additional housing to the community. And so we're beginning to dream about what that looks like. Maybe some tiny homes, maybe some projects like that in our community. We also have a fitness center, which is downtown. And so we're trying to get that open this year, which will be a place where kids can enhance fitness, children, teenagers, also families be able to enhance their fitness and bring that to our community. And maybe some of those baseball players, get them in the gym a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share the story, and thank you for what you guys do for rural America.